where do you get off? I mean, what does the statement itself designate? A place of having been, a place now springing up, so that you can then get off. Though then the term itself designating a notion that the place you're getting off to is one in which doesn't improve. Where do you get off? Then, though, what else is getting off? Get off to it. Off to a good start. People get off to a lot of things. Do you have the nerve? Then is it a dare? Is it a dare to get off? Do I dare get off? Well, then what does it mean to then get off if I have to dare to then do so? Is it a place of unfamiliarity? But it's a place of its own history. Then in myself, then getting off and confronting this place, which is then confusing, for I know not of it. Therefore, then giving the stipulation its own being of having a place of having been, then there also a place to then go. Then I get off, and then the people that are there say, how do you get off to this? How do you get off to this? Then getting off itself being a thing of overcoming. For how do you get off to this? Being an antagonizer almost. Overcoming antagonization. When then in a place of unfamiliarity, full of embarrassment. For then how does a place hide its structure when the only way you could arrive there was through structure itself? Then, before you get off, you then see it naked. Then getting it off then. Getting off with it. Getting on with it, actually, then, is what it is, because then you're leaving it. By getting off to it, you're then leaving it. Which then means, how is it that you come to a place and it reveals itself to you, and then you have the audacity to get off to it? A place that is different, untouched, pristine, perhaps even one might say. And then, when you have walleye, for then looking at the structure as a structure, then having come there by structure, you've already overcome the wall. By being there, you've already overcome it. However, then getting off to it, then you're in the wall, and you're feeling the wall, you're touching the wall, and the wall has eyes. And then the wall itself doesn't allow you to see the structure. And then you are truly getting off to it, because you're in a place where there is such bewilderment to it. again, the thing that allowed you to then get off, you were then confronted by the wall. There is then a wall, which doesn't allow you to then see the structure that allowed you to then get there by structure itself. So then, to get off to it, we gotta then get on with it. Which itself means that we gotta be mean. Because how can we come to such a place that allows us to then get off but then leave? But then how could anything get off? How could anything get on? How could anything get on with anything without then getting off? Drawing then these structures of power, they themselves then being things that don't make any sense. For a structure of power makes no sense. That's why it's a powerful image. Because who can wield it? Though the image itself, to be then powerful, must connect in some way within what can be then seen. For how could one even then know that it's a structure of power? For then it is a structure of power because it was able to be without making any sense. Then that's where then the power is seen, by a thing that is able to continue on. Without making anything. Without having anything. That's why it's powerful without making any sense. But it's gotta make a little sense, otherwise no one can see it. It may not be understood fully. And that's why then it's a structure of power. To be half witnessed. Then called a half-wit. The language of ridicule. As I'm walking up this mountainside and looking at the shape of this place that I now reside in, I can't help but feel as though I'm wandering through the letters, looking at each of their forms in another form, which then gave them the resounding nature to be symbolized on the currency held and transmitted. Climbing up the horse's back onto the saddle. Through the horseshoe. Though there are no horses here. Looking back now at the vessel from which I have departed, I see it has now transformed to me, becoming something of the semblance of a dolphin. Whereas then these lesser vessels, these little fish, then as though they are consumed, they remain intact, feeding the dolphin's travels. Whereas though, from the other perspective, they are then taken apart by the vessel and reorganized into compliance with its structure. Though upon this mechanical perspective, the interaction and transmission of funds and of energies is then of equalities, and through consumption each is then consumed, and each vessel remains always as it was. Then though I am thinking now, whereupon each vessel then continually exists in its state. However, then, when is a vessel itself the energy that is transferred among vessels? When truly am I seeing a vessel, and when truly am I seeing the spirit? And when is what I say nothing truly what is? When truly do I then see? What truly is there to see? When I then say these things that I see, but there is no affirmation of their saying, what affirmation is there? What truly is there to see? When I can see all this, while none of this then when is seeing believing? But how is one to see? What way should one see? There are many vessels on the sea. Then there are not each of these vessels seeing in a different way? For what is seeing, but then staying above, then how does something float? How does something float on the sea? Does it go hand in hand with what it then sees? Could I not then say what a thing sees is how it's built to see? How it's built to see then says what it sees. By then, that's how it floats. That's the transference. That's then the affirmation. Well then, is there a true sea? What then is this sea but a structure of the sea? Then though, is this a sad sea? Then in seeing this, do not things then float on the sea and see things that are besides this sea? For this sea then says, why can't I lift things up other than this sea? For this is a sad sea. Then in saying this, things that have no sea, have no way to see, then gain sight, then are then seen, lifted up by the sad sea. Then in this, what is there to then see, when then even the way of seeing causes a way to see where there is no way to know how it sees. But then still, couldn't the blues themselves be said to stay afloat? Then in seeing this, where is the sea? When something could then stay afloat at sea while on land? For it's able to handle what it sees. Then we see the structure of sea morphing. Where someone say that's the sea, And then I turn around and say, what isn't to see? Then we create the sea, and then there what floats upon it. Then there what couldn't float on the sea. Then there what couldn't there be to see. By way of creating the structure that then fits the sea we see. Causing then even the sea itself to float. Looking at this mountain as though I've seen it before. Though from afar, such a far sea. Now I'm here though. Where then, when does someone become seasick with what they've seen, no longer being able to float their vessel upon what they've seen? Then they're sinking below the waves. For then, what wishes to wave at something which has then seen this? For then, something to wave means a connection of ideologies, a connections of possibly what has been seen, though who wants to then see what this thing has then seen? Then therefore, what wave is there then seen beneath the waves? What should I see? Where should I go to at sea? What pleases me? Is pleasure pleasure? When does pleasure become not so? When is pleasure no longer? Should I pursue pleasure at the sea? Should I say goodbye to the sea? Saying sea so many times. Another language perhaps. Now seeing me. Where then, though these buildings as snow, cascading, these rooftops, do I feel not cold? Where then is warmth? When snow could then be so. Is to then have this place with open arms warmed up to me. Though then, when does it grow cold? Then what is cold and warmth if it is so? Should I climb this mountain? Where when climbing the mountain is taking a cable. If I take the cable, when was the mountain climbed? Was it climbed by me? Then in another way, then therefore, how did I even come to be here? Then therefore, if I do climb this mountain, was it already climbed previous to my then climbing it now? Then what is this mountain if I have already done so? In saying all these things, I don't know whether or not to know. Then in looking off into the distance, as though there's a shroud, as if this place could be more, it wants to be more. I almost see another mountain on the horizon, forming, as if the painter himself is in the works, having the backdrop cast, only waiting for the foreground to come into presence upon there being a pursuant of interest. What then does mystery not hold? What then is mystery? Where then does the mystery end? And then the shroud being revealed. Will I then not look off into the distance until I can see no longer? Only then saying that if I traverse the distance, then there will be more. Though then in so doing, where have I gone that then this place is no more? Then is this mystery a thing then traveling as I? Then is nothing not that is? Mystery only making it seem as though there's then a place to go? Should I walk towards mystery or be mysterious? If I am then mysterious, then do I not make more of the place in which I am then at? For then the place I am then at seeks to uncover a mystery of itself, then making itself more. Then how do things experience the fall without it? Where then do things see shells rather than bolts of lightning? Is then the act of a holiday what others would then see, though then maybe in just a walkway down a street with ominous walls? Are all these holidays then experienced in multiple ways than being holidays that are then everywhere? The seasons are everywhere. Then is this fall here in a place that is supposed to have no fall? Where then the fall itself is just a feeling. But then this place has reenacted the fall in a way that then gives the feeling, though the characters themselves that then tell this story, though telling the same story, are not the characters that are then found elsewhere to tell the same story, though the feeling's the same. Then is this place a common reoccurrence in the cycle of things then here? Making your way down this way when this way is then? Is there then no way around this way? Where then even in sitting in your armchair, these ways are then present by way of what is then present to you. Then go your way. That then these ways are then known in the ways that you know, or wish to know, or like to know. Though then in knowing, who knows not the way? Then is this the way? Do you know the way? What way is there that then is a single direction? That then feeling the same continuously. Is there this? Without then these other ways, these cycles of time that then presenting themselves in ways that allow us to be where we are, which is then different than other places, although then what we know from other places is then here all the same. Then which way has more of this? the way in which all of these ominous figures are then acted out in portrayal. The way and then which one walks down a path and then gains this feeling, or having these things then having to then have been called upon to then go and act in an act of importance. Does that then make these things then real if they are then having to be called upon and almost forced into position? Does that then make this walk have more to see, more to feel, more to know? Or in then that place is there then less to know because one is only called to act? Then not knowing that then this is just an act. But then in it just being an act, does then one feel? Does then one feel what one knows? I'm about to head off track and get back on track. This place is so different, yet full of so many familiar notes. Like I've crossed the mountain road and went up to Dane's house. Walking through Armenia. Being on Norwegian in Greece. Seeing Terra. Where there are cries as to a reformation. What then is the world that spawns worlds? What is this world built upon? But then within each of these worlds is a portion of this world then? Then when this world goes to those worlds that then spawned worlds based upon the backbone of what a world is, then where does it then say this is not what this is? But then does that then not mean that there is then only the one world? watching then this cloud spread between what was, what is, what will be. Where then they say Scandinavian, but then located in the store, but then also a god of war from another land, though then a country, but then a part of the machine, which then for me is in the exchange. Where then does war lose meaning then in this? Have I said too much? Is then in saying these things going against what I said at the start of this? Myself trying to say what was, what is, what will be, then only spreading that cloud. Like a swarm. Though then it is one in which carries these figures that wish to then have things be. That then all they have to do is then go to the store. Where I say what will be, that is then where they are, because there is the will. Then does that then not mean that we are in the will be? What's beyond the will be? Was it what was? Then what is what was, or what is, or what will be, when I then say this? Then should I consume this cloud along with those that then say they wish to be in the will be? But then watching this cloud spread and consume this place until what was is no more. Then what is only the cloud. This cloud that doesn't allow this place to actually be what it is. The thing that then people are then here for. Where can they see Skanda? But then the place in which they then could is a place which would then not be harboring, and that's where we are, is in the harbor, which itself indicates that care should be taken, and then we can take the care as a carriage. And then those that then fought the war, we need not fight, but then are we not fighting with the transaction? Then what should we fight for? For the transaction? Or for what gave us the ability to then have transaction? feeling as though with each phrase that then comes out of nowhere, I cause a great trembling for things to then move earth higher. But then what truly have I done but created a tragic fall? For why would I even be in such a place to then say such things if it weren't for the mood then being in another mood? Would I even be then saying what I am? Where then all I am doing is just emphasizing this body emotion at large, right here, right now. Where then how can one not emphasize the mood? Even if it is just simply a reflection of parts of where one is. Even not in reflection. Right now I am in reflection. Then in not being in reflection, I am in reflection, reflecting the mood of where I am. Where I feel the only way to end the conversation is with the word of misunderstanding. By saying something that then has no meaning. But then there is still meaning in that, even, is then things grow unaware. Then it, as being a thing that then causes unawareness, is itself a thing of meaning and then has a place in meaning. Almost itself like a jolt. Why then do I feel like saying goodbye? But in a word that itself would cause a distraction to reason. Where then does it stop then if I follow reason to act according to feeling when feeling is the reason? But then how far down the road do I go to recite feeling that then there is no reason? Then does feeling have feeling? Then this feeling is reason. And I laugh at even knowing the ending now.